I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All 6 of them.
Who are you?
Bounty hunters became extinct over 100 years ago. But someone forgot to tell Ralph Thorson.
Sheriff wants to see you. Heard a lot about you, Mr. Thorson. All bad.
When he's on the job, anything he does is legal.
Man, that's the law.
Steve McQueen is the hunter. A true story. Rated PG.
Starts today. Village Westwood, Chinese Hollywood, and a theater near you.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is a PayPal request for WRJ518. I apologize for the lateness of it. I'm doing the best that I can to try to catch up. But if anyone wants to request pretty much any type of videos, you can request them either directly to my PayPal or join me on my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. It could be for reviews, movie topics, what have you. But this is for a film called The Hunter, which became Steve McQueen's last film, and it came out in 1980. Now, I did not grow up with Steve McQueen. I didn't grow up with films like The Great Escape, or Bullet, or things of that nature. I know who Steve McQueen is, but again, I did not grow up with him, unlike Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, even Clint Eastwood. I grew up a lot more than, say, Steve McQueen. But even in this film, his last film, which you see a little bit of him being a bit tired because, as come to find out, he had cancer, he still had that presence. Still had that it factor. And you could tell what made him a star. So, just say gone too soon. Sally, I think this is the midst of him trying to make a comeback. Sally did not last long. Now in this movie he plays Ralph Thorson, nicknamed Papa, which is a bit weird because people keep calling him Papa. So grown men say, "Hey Papa, how's it going, Papa?" It's just a bit strange. But he's a bounty hunter, and I guess bounty hunters were so unknown that there's literally text at the beginning explaining what bounty hunting is. I don't know if you needed that, but okay. Now, this is a character that has a pregnant girlfriend. One of his first things in the movie he does, he meets up with this guy played by LeVar Burton, Geordi from Star Trek Next Generation. Busts him for something small, has to take him back, but because LeVar Burton's so nice and being so cool, is even offering to fix his stuff, when the trial happens, he's like, "Hey, let him know that you work for me." So then LeVar Burton pops up sporadically throughout the flick. Other people recognize Eli Wallach from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He's here as a guy who gives Steve McQueen his jobs of which bounty to go after. Tracy Walter, who I remember as Conan's sidekick and Conan the Destroyer. He was in Drive with Martha Costas. He was the sidekick to Jack Nicholson's Joker and Batman from 1989. He's in this as a guy who because of Steve McQueen in the past, got put in jail, he wants revenge, sends in threats. That's kind of where the movie culminates in. I would say I liked the film okay, because I didn't mind Steve McQueen. It was cool to see people like LeVar Burton and Tracy Walter and such in there. But the strange thing about this movie, number one, it seems like a TV movie. I mean, there's a couple of alright big moments. There's for example, a sequence where he chases these guys. The guys are in a Trans Am going through a cornfield, and he's chasing them while driving a combine. And there's even a moment where he's in a combine, they're in a Trans Am, he's chasing them, and they accidentally back up, and one thing leads to another, their car explodes. There's another pretty decent chase scene near the third act where he's chasing this guy, one of the bounties, and gets onto a subway, and he's on top of a subway car, and then he's handing off the rack for the subway car, and then car chase up the guy in this parking lot that twirls upward, circular parking lot. But it's not just that it seems like a made-for-TV movie, because it has like basic editing, a basic look, alright action. This really has no plot. What I mean by that is, it's like a bunch of episodes put together. It's like you took a TV series where he's a bounty hunter and you just put a bunch of them together. Because again, the semblance of a plot is Tracy Walter once in a while threatens him, or threatening phone calls, or threatens his wife or his girlfriend that works at the school. But really it's just kind of randomness. He gets LeVar Burton, then he fights this big guy, and he stops him with the beanbag gun. Shoots beanbags, that's his stun gun. Then he comes back. A little bit of scene with his girlfriend. A little bit of scene with Eli Wallach. Then try to get some good old boys. And that's where you get the scene where the combine, the Trans Am going through the cornfield. And Steve McQueen chases and captures them. Like the big action scene with the subway, that's a guy we don't know who it is. It's just another bounty. So this is like one of your big culminating action bits of for your finale. It's a guy we know nothing about. Usually in movies, it's, oh, well, this is a villain, or this is a guy who works for the villain. No, there's just another bounty. That's what I mean. It's just sort of episodic, where here's a bounty, here's a bounty, here's a bounty. Granted, part of me was, okay, that's not the typical way of making a film, so that was kind of interesting. But at the flip side, it means the movie kind of doesn't have a plot. It's just a series of events that happens. And once in a while, Tracy Walter is threatening him on the phone, or threatening his girl. And then you get the final act where it's in the school, and Steve, things happen. Now, there are some nice moments of levity. He gives his girlfriend the gift of a Buck Rogers Rocket Patrol, and she's like, shit. That did make me chuckle. Spoiler alert, spoiler. The very end of the film, the last scene, so spoiler. His wife gives birth, I forget if it's his wife or his girlfriend. Gives birth, the baby sneezes. He's like, oh, God bless you. Kind of a sweet little ending. Sweet in the fact that this is the last moment of Steve McQueen. It's, weirdly enough, the last scene, which will then lead to his death, is a scene where another person is born, this baby. Obviously, that's not done on purpose, but just kind of weird, ironic that his last scene is a baby giving birth, but then his last film he did, because he died soon after. And I guess Peter Hyams had a credit in writing. I think at one point he was going to direct, but Steve McQueen was against it. I don't know all the details behind that. I think that would be something to ask Peter Hyams about. I guess creative differences. But yeah, it is a bit of a bother because there's not really a plot. So I guess technically Tracy Walter's the main bad guy, but I say I guess because who else can it be? So it's just like, okay, really all of his home life is just his girlfriend's getting tired of him leaving on bounties. And it seems like she's ready to leave him by the end, but then this thing happens and the baby's born. That's really all you did with the characters. So it's not like a depth of characters. I mean, in a weird way, I guess you could say a lot of Dirty Harry films kind of follow that, where it seems like a bunch of random. But even those Dirty Harry films, it still felt as if there's a consistent storyline, as well as Clint Eastwood doing jobs as a cop. Like Dirty Harry, I still felt the consistent storyline of the sniper, but you still have Dirty Harry trying to get a guy from committing suicide. Other Dirty Harry films, there is a storyline going on, but you'd have Dirty Harry doing random things as a cop, as well as the story. And again, there's not... maybe it thought the Tracy Walter stuff was that, but it's not a strong enough pinpoint. So again, and also on an action front and a visual front, it's very basic. Kind of point and shoot. It's really nothing special on the camera work or the editing. I think the action is alright, but this is action you could have seen on a TV show as well. On an episode of the A-Team or something of that to that effect. So again, I would say the chase scene that goes to the subway and then the car, pretty decent. The combine scene was interesting. It's not typical you have your action hero driving a combine chasing a car through a cornfield. Again, interesting. I mean, there's The Last Stand with Arnold that has a car chase in a cornfield, but I would put The Last Stand above this. So yeah, it's interesting to see Steve McQueen in his last role. You tell he's a little bit drained, tired, but considering the guy's battling cancer, he did pretty decent. He did pretty damn. Steve McQueen is a good actor. Sadly, lost too soon. I guess if you don't mind a film that just a series of him doing his bounty hunting duties, yeah, go for it. Go ahead and check it out. Steve McQueen's last film. Why not? There's a lot of people who sadly had a lot worse films as their last film. I mean, wasn't Raul Julia's, was his last film Street Fighter with Van Damme? And I'm a Van Damme fan, but I'm like, Street Fighter. And I would put this above Street Fighter. And again, that was Raul Julia's last film. Chris Farley, his last film was what, Wagons East? No, that was John Candy. John Candy's last film was Wagons East. And then Chris Farley was Almost Heroes, which is, I put above Wagons East, but nowhere near Black Sheep or Tommy Boy or such. So that's what I mean. There's a lot of people that have a lot worse movies as their last film compared to Steve McQueen. So The Hunter, alright for what it was, but don't expect... I guess the other one interesting thing is they made him a bad driver in the movie because he's famous for the big car chase in Bullet. So they made the character here purposely a bad driver. That was kind of clever. There was a little bit of cleverness there. So overall, I didn't mind it for what it was. But it was nothing monumental or special. Or memorable. Time waster? Time waster at best. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.